and get drunk before everything closes.
Oh, it's gonna be a long quarantine, that's for sure.
So I don't know if you listened on Tuesday, but Kyle Anthony, the best UFC handicapper on the planet, wanted to see you and I in a cage match.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the coronavirus edition of Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. We've got a lull here. We don't know when sports are coming back. We don't know what's kind of going on here. Hopefully everybody's staying safe. You know, washing your hands, for God's sakes, wash your hands. But you know what? This was a point where I figured on Twitter, ask some of you guys, you know, what do you think? You know, some videos that maybe you want to see or you know, whatnot. A lot of people were direct messaging me asking, you know, how do you cap normally? What do you look for? A lot of questions. So I figured, you know what, put it out to everybody, see what kind of some of the things that you may want me to talk about. So overall in this video here is, I'm not going to talk about, you know, how I research or exactly all the diving into that I look for, things that I look for. I may do that in another video, just, you know, depending what's kind of going on in the world today, but would like to maybe do that. But this is more going to be a high-level look at overall what I'm looking for, how I'm betting, how I'm tiering my bets, you know, start to finish on what I look for, why am I picking certain fights, that kind of thing. So it's going to be a high-level rundown of what I do for my week when I'm looking at an upcoming UFC card. You're probably all wondering what this is also. This is a dragon tattoo. My son was born in the year of the dragon. Got this, gonna finish my my sleeve. You know, got his footprints under here, his name, got all kinds of things going on. So gonna finish that, got some time, you know, we're gonna get that done. So, first thing here, I guess, that we will really get into, one is that it's been a great year. I mean, we have definitely, you know, overall 88% on Wagertalk client plays, over 30% return on investment on those plays. So overall, it's been just a really profitable year. Want to keep that going. But again, I think this is a good time to really fine tune some of those things that maybe, you know what, maybe certain cappers are doing certain things. And again, there is not one way to do this. This is the way I do it. I know a lot of other people do things differently and they're successful. So it doesn't mean that this is the one way, all being kind of way, but this is the way that I do it. I've found success for many years betting it this way, and so I'm going to share kind of how I work through all of that. So the first thing really is bankroll management. Now, I'm not going to dive into this all. This isn't even really part of what I'm talking about, but it doesn't matter how many wins you have, how many times you win, whatever it may be, it doesn't really matter, because if you win 6 events in a row and you're doing well, and all of a sudden you back-to-back events, you're starting to bet more because you feel that, hey, I've got more in my bankroll, I'm going to bet more. That kind of thing really doesn't work well long-term at all. So again, you really, not only do you have to pick winners, but you also need to make sure that you have the bankroll management, that you are disciplined when it comes to certain events. You know, I always say it's quality over quantity, and I'll get into some of those steps as well, but definitely that is a huge part to definitely reevaluate, look at how you're betting, look if you're really betting more or you're chasing when you're losing, and that long-term will never really pan out. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, again, this is really the betting process that I go through. So the first thing really is there's 45 events, roughly somewhere around there each year, which means there's no off season. So there is a ton of betting opportunities every year, and even for UFC fans and cappers, when there's not an event for a week or 2 weeks, it feels like an eternity, because we're just so used to an event, a lower event, a pay-per-view event, title fights, and then maybe another lower event. There's just always some kind of UFC fights going on, which is great. It just gives more betting opportunities and doesn't mean you have to force bets. So that's going to be a big part. But for me, really, when I first look at an event, is the fact that I have an allotted amount of money that I use per event. And I really don't deviate from that. I really stick to that amount. And reason being is that I look at each event as its own bet. I don't really, if there's six fights or whatever it may be, I'm not really, I'm sticking to the allotted amount that I have, tiering my bets, taking a certain percentage for certain plays, which again I'll dive into a little bit, and really overall that's what I do. So taking that amount every single event, I think, is a key portion to this, because you're not going to be getting away or looking to bet a lot more. Do I, again, a little bit more in certain ones maybe? Do I lessen it a little bit where I don't really find plays, and again I don't force plays? That is going to be something for me that I think is extremely important. So when you're first looking at a card, I take a look at the card overall, and again, there's 13 fights, somewhere roughly around there, and a lot of people want to bet, it's the first fight, they're excited, they want to bet it. You know what, I really stick to, when I'm looking at the card, I really stick to about 2 to 4 fights per card that I'm looking for to bet. There's really no more than that. I'm not looking to do 8. I'm not looking to do, I know a lot of people do that, and they're, maybe they have success, maybe they don't. But for me, it's really 2 to 4, somewhere in there. And I'm looking for about 2 to be my really stronger plays, and 2 that I'm really looking at that I see good value. I see the lines off, and I'm really looking at that as its own kind of entity, if you will, with those types of fights. So again, one event, that's my allotted amount of money. Taking it down a notch from there, 2 to 4 that I'm looking for. And when I'm looking at that, I really go down, and when I'm taking a look at all the fights, and there's 13 fights, there's a lot of times where there's a fight that I have keyed in on, that I like, that I have just said, I can't wait to take a look at this one, can't wait to dive into it. Then I dive into it, and I'm doing the research, and again, I've talked about this, I like to, any fight that I bet, I'm looking back 3 to 4 fights for each, the guy that I like, and also the opponent, and see if I can piece things together. And again, I'll dive into that in another video, possibly if that's something that people want to see, whatever it may be. But again, I'll sometimes dive into a fight, and I'm not married to that fight. I'm not saying this is the fight that I need to bet. I have to bet it. It's the main fight. It's everyone's talking about it. There's been times where I do like it. And I am more of a person that does like to bet main card, which a lot of people ask me that as well. Why do you bet main card fights a lot? Reasons, because I'm very, very knowledgeable on those fighters, because I've seen, not only do I just, I follow them, but I just really know those fighters very well. I know their tendencies a lot better. And again, I always go back and rewatch. Even if I've seen all their fights, which most of the time I have, I still go back with that fighter in mind. So again, 2 to 4 fights that I'm breaking down, and I'm not married to that fight. If I have to, I get off of the fight. Sometimes there's points where, I've spent, over an hour watching tape, rewatching, and I can't really take a look at which way I like or the other way I like, and then I just get away from it. And even prior to that is, I don't look at the line. I do not look at the line. So if there's a card that comes out, I'm not looking at the line. I'm not talking to other people saying, hey, what do you think? I don't want to know anything. I don't want anybody's opinion. I don't want anybody's, hey, this guy's going to kill this guy. I don't want to hear it, because I want to do it for my own research. And I don't want a line to even pull me away from something. So I like to take a look at a fight. Once I key in on 2 to 4 of them, and again, sometimes I'll throw one out, and then I'll look for another one. So again, there's a long process that I go through, that I'm looking down the card and rewatching, looking, doing research, and if I like it, I kind of put it to the side and say, this is what I want to go back to, dive into it a little bit more, and I start shuffling around that way. But that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it overall when you're looking at those. Now, the research, again, is, you pick the fights that you like, the ones that you're really keying in on, you stick to those, and again, you have to do your research. I don't want to see what's going on, because again, if I'm looking at the fight, and there's a fight that I do like, and once I like the fight, I'm kind of talking all over the place here, but once I like the fight, then that's when I go back to the line. Now I say, hey, this is the line that I like. I believe this guy should maybe be at this price. Let me take a look at what the actual lines are. This is a great fight for me. I really like it. Once I look at the line, now that really is going to dictate, am I betting this fight? Is this something that I'm going to be betting? And if the line seems way off, or seems right in there, or seems overvalued, or whatever it may be, then that's when I start to really take a look at, hey, I do like this price, or I don't like this price. And I like to really do it, and a lot of people, when I've told people the way that I do this, they'll say, why don't you look at the line first and see if the line is way off to begin with, or whatever it may be. I don't want to even be kind of swayed in any direction by the actual line. I like to really take a look at it for the most part. I mean, of course, you know, when I do look out, when I've talked about that on the show with Minty Bets, is that, you know, we did the market look ahead, where really the look ahead there is some of those key fights I like that I already know the fighters. You know, I really liked Leon Edwards this weekend, who was supposed to be fighting Tyron Woodley. I liked him for many reasons. I had a lot of reasons I liked him for. I bet him already early, thought the price was really good, thought that, you know, again, got into certain things of, you know, where I think the market's going to go, where do I think the sharp money's going to go, where do I think that the public money's going to go, what's the perception of this fighter overall. These kind of the things that you kind of look at when you're looking at a from afar. But when you're looking at it in a perspective of, this is the fight that I'm going to be betting, I don't really like to look at the line. And once I do, I take a look, and even when we had Justin Taffa, he was a plus 210. That was a fight where it was a co-main event fight. I had already done research on Justin Taffa, but once I dove into it, I thought this was going to be a pick'em, and then I looked and I said, how is this guy plus 210 against a guy that is not very good, lost a bunch of fights, doesn't look good overall, lost to Greg Hardy, a lot of things I didn't like about him. That to me was an easy way to place money on him. So those are the spots that I'm looking at when I take a look. So once I pick those fights, now I have my 2 to 4 fights that I'm betting. And 2 of them, like I said, roughly 1, 2, 3 of them, whatever it may be, are going to be on my stronger plays. And those are the ones that are always going to be my Wagertalk client plays. Those are going to be the plays that I'm going to be betting, 80%, 70%, 75%, somewhere in there of my allotted amount for that card. So all of the ones that I actually have on that site are the ones that I'm going to be betting strong. And those are the ones that I feel great about. And a lot of people, you know what, you can't be scared if there's, if depending where the line is, or a heavy favorite or a big underdog, if you feel that you're strong about that play, you bet it. You can't worry about what other people are saying. You stick to it and you bet it, and that's the way you're going to have to take it. So those 2 to 4 plays, again, 80% roughly of my allotted amount goes onto those, and that's where I'm looking to say, win or lose, those, regardless what happens, those are the most specific plays. Because a lot of people, again, you could, hey, I love these 2 plays, but I bet 4 other ones. The 4 other ones lose, and the 2 that you really liked end up winning, you lost money that card. So it's not worth it to really spread your money across the board. Again, it's fun, sometimes I do very, very cheap, parlays, and I'm, flicking things around, and fine. That's, if you're doing that, but really here, we're not for entertainment, we're here to make a profit. So it's not really, I watch it to just say, hey, I just want to be intrigued by it. I love the art of fighting, so I'm already intrigued and involved in it anyway. So for me, it's, again, 2 to 4 that you're looking at. So once you've got the 80% on the 2 of them that I feel strong about, at that point I've got another 2 to 3, somewhere around in that range that I do, and those are going to be the free plays that I talk about. Now those plays, again, are going to be value plays. They're going to be ones that I really feel strong about, just on the fact that not only is the line off, but I'm not feeling as good about those fights compared to the other ones. Yes, I bet them all, but again, I'm only going to be taking 20% of that allotted amount into those plays, and then again, that's how I'm going to be shaping it up all together. Now, do I, in those 20%, I definitely, I'm going to be betting two fights, but I'm also going to be taking maybe 10% of that, and I'm going to be doing parlays. I'm going to be laddering a couple parlays. I'm going to be doing 2-fight parlays. I'm going to do, just my two favorite plays. I may parlay them together. I may parlay, 3 of them together with maybe a big heavy favorite to help me with the odds a little bit. There's ways to shift that around that I think very much is worth it, but people are so heavy on parlays, and then they're betting a parlay the exact amount that they're betting some straight bets, and you're just not going to make money that way. There's just no way you're going to make money that way. You got to bet them straight. You got to stick to that, and that's going to be the way that you're going to find success long term, compared to, again, you're looking to hit the home run. You're looking to, hey, I got to bet, 50% of my money is going on this parlay, and I really believe all 5 of these guys are going to win. It's very hard to go undefeated consistently. You can't do parlays. I tier them again, maybe 10% of that allotted amount is going to that, but the rest of it, again, 80%, 75% is going to those Wagertalk plays overall. And the last part really is going to be beating the closing line. Now, a lot of people use that as a crutch when they cap. And I think that's, of course, it is a definite important part of this. You know, you want to get the best number. You want to get the best number. You want to get your money down on that best number. But you know what? A lot of times, Fred down the street, who doesn't know anything about MMA, is just going to bet a fighter to bet a fighter. You know, they're going to say, hey, they don't care when it goes in. They don't care. Hey, is this going to be the, he's minus 200 and then he got bet up to minus 350. That guy's still going to bet. Fred is still going to bet that fighter. You know, he doesn't matter that how he feels about it or did he get a good price. He just wants to win a fight. That doesn't make sense. That's not really the way you want to do it. But beating the closing line definitely makes sense, but also the fact, because long term it's proven to turn a profit. It is definitely proven to turn a profit. But also on that is that it's not the same way in other sports. A lot of people are using that same strategy when it comes to MMA, but in MMA it's different because if beating the closing line in football is going to matter because it's going to change the outcome of the game. If you're giving 7 and you get it at 6.5, that's going to change what happens in that bet. But when you're talking about MMA, you're just looking at value. It's, you still get that fighter. If the fighter still goes out there and knocks the guy out, it still gets you to win. But you want to obviously get your money in a good spot, strong positions. That's the name of the game when it comes to this. So it's going to be the money management part of this is going to be important. To kind of recap a little bit, money management, of course, is going to be a big part of this. That's going to be huge. Knowing that there is 45 events for the year, there's a lot of opportunity. You don't have to bet every single event. You want to make sure that you have a allotted amount of money per event that you can say, this is what I'm going to be putting on this on this card, and I'm going to ladder it and tier my stronger plays to my not as stronger plays, and then work some and tier your parlays in there with 10%, a smaller amount, not a large amount overall. And again, it's looking down over the card. Got to look down over the card and find the plays. Don't fall in love with a play and say, I got to bet this, this one or that one. I have to because everyone's talking about it. Don't fall to the hype overall. And again, MMA is putting your money in strong positions where there's value and you have a betting edge. So there you have it. I hope that made sense to everybody. When I start talking about this, I kind of start rambling, but hopefully I was able to kind of get some things across, answer some of the questions with how I kind of break these down overall. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree, disagree, do other things, or do not do other things. Follow me at Kyle Anthony UFC. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and I'll see you next time.